Hello, and welcome to Your Brand Express podcast, the podcast where business owners, authors, coaches get a chance to articulate their processes and how they express their brands. With your hosts, Carl and CJ Alleyne. Get your favorite cup of coffee or tea and get a notepad and enjoy the ride. All right, everyone, here we are. This is Carl Alleyne and this is CJ Alleyne with Your Brand Express podcast. And with today, we have a very interesting topic that we're talking about today. We're talking about the imposter syndrome. That's a very common, right? It's a very common vernacular now, and a very common term now in our society. And it's real. It's real. People struggle with that, whether they're presenting on camera or presenting on stage, in different arenas, you know, in business and in public speaking, and even in the entertainment world as well. If you're putting something out and you have some kind of value to give, a lot of people are gonna struggle with the imposter syndrome. So we're gonna talk about that today. How about that,
sir.
CJ?
Sounds good. Do you know what imposter syndrome means? Some people might be a little bit confused.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna give you a breakdown. I'm gonna take this from the Merriam-Webster dictionary, merriam-webster.com. It's a psychological condition that is characterized by persistent doubt concerning one's abilities or accomplishments, accompanied by the fear of being exposed as a
Mm,
fraud despite evidence of one's ongoing success. That's heavy, man. That's real. I think about that. I'm like
man,
being, your concern, your fear of being found out. When I think about imposter syndrome, I think about that. And it's like, and it's self-inflicting, because we could feel it heavy internally, and it could weigh down on us. I know I felt that in different arenas. I felt it in the entertainment world. Even being a performer for 33 years, I still struggle with that at times. And I have to have that self-talk. I pray and I have self-talk and this inner work I need to do to make sure I navigate through it. You know what I mean?
right. You silence my phone. My bad.
All good. Yeah, you got sound. Get that silence on. Get that silence on. Now, what do you think about when you think about the imposter syndrome?
When I think about imposter syndrome, I think of just not feeling like you belong. Like I know that's a
Mm,
common thing. I know it's a common thing just like as we live, like we just feel like we don't belong. Even when people like, reassure us that like, oh, like you're supposed to be here, bro. You're doing great. Or this, down the third, it's easy to feel like you don't belong or like you're not fulfilling your purpose. And when you're not doing that, sometimes it can make you question like, am I supposed to be here? Or like, do I like is this luck? Like, was this supposed to happen? Like, this makes you doubt. And the more you doubt, man, like, man, it's just more stuff weighs on you. It's just you almost believe it and you trick yourself into believing lies. Yeah.
right. It's like a downward spiral, right?
Yeah. Literally. I like how you did that. Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh. Whew. Now, so for you, have you struggled with it? Like, I mean, you honestly, CJ, I think you've gone live on camera more than me when it comes to the online space. Absolutely, because you've done it thousands of times, hundreds, thousands of times.
Yeah.
For
I don't
me,
even know. Yeah. It's been a
I
lot.
know you don't really think, well, for you, you seem really, really natural on camera when you go. And that's pretty. I admire that about you. I know for
Appreciate
me,
that.
I feel like it takes work, but yeah, for
Yeah.
you, I noticed that you're natural.
I appreciate that. I mean, I try to be. I mean, I try to, there was a point I used to try to like be like, like replicate what people would do, if that makes sense. Like I see like this person do something. Shout out to my friend Jay. Like I used to like he was just like he was my friend, but he was like the coolest person to me, like my a big brother. So I was like, yo, that's fine. Let me try to kind of do in a way what he does. But that actually led me to feel like imposter syndrome, like feel imposter syndrome because like I tried to do what he did, and then I realized like that's not me. Like it made me feel like maybe I don't belong. You know what I mean? And
Mm,
I think I think just it's a balance. It's a balance to strike, and you kind of gotta learn it. Like you gotta learn uh through the way you step. Like it's not like that's not I wouldn't say that's not supposed to happen. It's just a lesson learned. Like it's not an L. It's just really
right.
just a lesson learned that like uh you know, yeah, that's my take on last.
That makes sense, and it's interesting too because give for those who don't know, um, your friend, he's a YouTuber as well, Jay, and you're a
Yeah,
YouTuber in the field of gaming, in the area of gaming, and there was a time where you it's like you imitate and you innovate, right? And there's that's a good thing to do to not to steal someone's material, but you
yeah,
imitate and you also innovate. How can I do it and make it mine? And that in it of itself, that's a journey to kind of figure out and to work out the kinks and find your own groove and those things. That takes time, and even within
yeah,
that, you could feel the imposter syndrome, like kind of like what you alluded to.
yeah. Exactly. It's a deep
Interesting.
topic, man. I love this topic.
Yeah, yeah, it's really deep. And as far as when it comes to imitation, not trying to go out deviate off our topic, but it's included with this. When it comes to imitation, I'm a fan of. I think everyone should imitate. Now, again, not take, not steal, but imitate, model, and then innovate. And that's how you find your own groove. We all do that. Babies do that. When we're youth, we do that. Adults do that. When someone's training up under someone, a scientist or what have you, they're modeling, and then they kind of have to. They got to get the data, get the information. They got to make things their own as well. As an
Right,
artist, I did that. As an artist, I still do that. I'm very seasoned as an artist, but I'm still figuring out ways I can imitate and innovate and make things
right.
different. And then from there, I'm thinking, oh, how can I do this backwards, or how can I do this a different angle? And I'm trying out different layers as I'm experimenting, And even with speaking too, I
Mm,
include the arts into my speaking now. Now it's like, okay, well, I'm creating something, and I'm creating for lack of better words, a persona, because there's an element of that,
yeah,
but I want that persona to be different. But I do want it to be, I want people to be able to catch onto it and understand it, and it be relatable to them. But I'm putting my own sauce, so to speak, in there, my secret sauce in there. You know what I mean?
right.
So,
I like
and
that.
then for our coaching clients, people we coach, you know, we're striving to make a pattern for them as well, so that they could catch on to it, and then they can make it their own. Once they imitate and innovate, they can make it their own. But along that journey, it's we can expect it's gonna, the imposter syndrome is gonna wear its ugly head, and it's gonna try to
Yeah,
wrestle people down. We could agree to that, right?
absolutely. It's
It
crazy.
is. It is. So here's a question too, CJ. How can someone overcome their fear of speaking on camera? How can someone overcome their fear of speaking on camera? We could say that their imposter syndrome. How can they navigate through that when speaking on camera when it comes to that area?
Deep question.
Mm,
Uh, how can someone overcome their fear? I'd say kind of like I was actually listening to this other podcast. I've been kind of listening to other podcasts, and there was this other YouTuber that was on there. So I thought it was pretty dope, made that connection. But he was saying like in life, like someone might be on like chat, like some it's so easy to compare, right? Like you're not gonna hop on the camera and just be like the next Mr. Beast, like off already. Like you gotta take the time to build up your confidence, build up your what you want to do, and like expand off that. It's like he called it chapters. So like basically you could be on chapter one, and that's okay. Like being on chapter one is okay. Like everybody starts there. And but when you see someone that's maybe like on chapter 30 and you try to, I guess, like nothing wrong with imitating them. Because I feel like some people that start being on camera are imitating the people that are killing off the game. That's why it's so popular now. And
right.
when you try to imitate someone, you shouldn't expect to be all perfect, expect to be the best level of you yet, because you're still on chapter one. You still got to write that story. So your first time being on camera might be a little awkward. It might be nervous, nerve wracking, which we talked about last podcast. And being nervous is really excited. It's like that right there. Like I'll just say like you want to make sure that you're not letting that get to you. That's okay. It's okay to feel nervous. It's okay to feel shy. Like you want to everything you're feeling is what you're supposed to be feeling, and kind of just work off that. Like try to do things to build your confidence. Like talk in the mirror. I know talking in the mirror sounds crazy, but we talk to ourselves in our head saying that you can't do this. So
Right.
that's crazy, I think. So you should try to talk to yourself in the mirror or just talk to yourself in general. Like, I got this. Like, I can do this. I can do this. Come on. Let's get this done. I'd be like, come on,
Right.
CJ, let's go. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'd be doing to myself. I try to at least. Some days it's
Right.
not like that, but I think self-talk and just building your way up is really I feel like a really good key to success to feeling comfortable on camera because you just won't
Mm.
it's a matter of fact you just won't feel like that already like just to jump on it. But I still struggle with that. I still like, oh shoot, video is rolling, let's go. But uh yeah, it's ongoing and it's a process. I'll say it's a process.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting you said self-talk, because that's deep. Self-talk is something that there are things in life where it's easy to take certain things for granted, good things and bad things. Self-talk is one of those things. It's like subconsciously, we're like, oh, it's there. Yeah, of course it's there. But that's a
Right.
big deal because think about the amount of times we talk to ourselves throughout the day. You know, back in the days, it's like you couldn't say that. Self talking to yourself, what? You crazy if you're talking to yourself. No, we
Right.
all talk to ourselves all the time.
Every step of
And
the way.
that's
Yeah.
every step of the way. And as far as, when I think about speaking or even presenting in some way, if it's performing on stage or speaking on camera or dancing even, I look at it as we're instruments and it's important to fine tune your instrument. But the challenge is when it comes to, I can relate that to self talk, right? When it comes to being an instrument, we don't pay attention to the details of our instrument.
Mm.
Each of us has we're powerful instruments. I mean, even the complexity of our brains, it's crazy. But it's easy not to pay attention to those things. So the self talk is super, super important. What we say to ourselves. This morning I woke up and I said, if I could make my bed up, I could do anything. I heard that from a quote, right?
It's
It wasn't the
powerful. Wow.
exact words, but that's motivation to get me going for my day. That's an example. So self talk is super important, even when we're getting ready. Practicing in front of the mirror, it's kind of in that arena with self talk. Because we're looking at ourselves, we're exploring our instrument.
Yeah.
And the more we explore our instrument, the better we become. Now, we got to do something about it. We can't just look in the mirror and do, 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 do. We got to look in the mirror
Yeah.
and say, okay, how can I speak this phrase? What can I say? If it's reciting poetry or saying words in a song or saying part of a script of a TV show or just freestyling words, that simple practice right there is huge because it helps you to get better. And every time, if you're intentional about it, you're going to get better and better. That's 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 who we are as human beings.
Yeah.
We have that ability, but it's easy to not pay attention, and that's a big deal. Make
Really
sense?
is. I love it. Yep. Um, Not like that. I say another question I have is, what tips do you have for someone that kind of struggles with imposter syndrome? Because you might some people in here might not even know that they wrestle with that, but kind of hearing these things that we're saying can make you think like, well, maybe I have it. Like, what tips would you have for someone that has imposter syndrome for like presenting themselves, like on camera, video, or on stage, school, whatever? You know what I mean?
Right, right. Because they're all related. They're all related.
Yeah.
You can leverage it and to use it and to use it like all across the board thing, and it helps you just to get better as a human being. The first thing I'd say is it's important to acknowledge it. You know what? Struggling with imposter syndrome is a challenge for me. I battle with that. It's a struggle for me. And then from there on, figure out what you can do to take steps to overcome it. You can get coaching on it. Look at videos on YouTube. Hey, look at our content. We're putting out a lot of content about confidence on camera and overcoming imposter syndrome, etc. On all the platforms pretty much. I think included not Pinterest yet, not Pinterest yet.
Yeah.
Yet,
Like
yet.
YB everywhere, man.
Everywhere. We want to be everywhere. Um, but that's important too. Just in getting it in your head because as far as and also that includes that's what's included with that is time management because you got to figure out how you use your time. Everyone can take about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes a day, and work on their craft because that's what it is. If you're speaking on camera, if you're a coach, author, speaker, a service provider, uh, you know any of them, you got to work on your craft. So if you take 10 minutes out of the day, 5 to 10 minutes, that's a big deal. And you're
Right.
super intentional about it, it makes a big deal. So for me, when I execute, I try to turn my energy level up. And that's the third thing right here. When you're on camera, turn your energy level up to 10.
Yeah.
Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, because it picks you up. It gets you ready. Like even as I'm speaking right now, for those who could see the video version of our podcast, I'm speaking. I'm using my hands. When I'm using my
Articulate.
hands, I use more energy. I'm articulating. You know, I'm using
Mm-hmm.
even the way if I talk. If you notice, sometimes I'll angle my head. It gives a different tone of what I'm saying. That's just my special flavor. My flair I add to when I speak. It
So
and I got
yeah,
that from dance. I got that from dance as well. um, but it's important because it adds more color, more tonality to what you're expressing. And the more you can do that, the more people can embrace you emotionally as well. Because when we're communicating, only about 7%, and some of these figures are different. It depends on who you hear it from, are different. 7% of is verbal. And
I
then
was
there's,
hearing
I think,
about that. Yeah,
yeah, then 50, I think it's 55% is body. Yeah. And I'm kind of jacking these figures up, because I kind of stopped paying attention when I heard that it's not all it depends on whose perspective, you
yeah.
know. But it's important to pay attention to that, you know. If I was trying to see if I had the figures here. Yeah, this is according to I'm gonna say this too. This is according to Albert Morabian, a researcher of body language. He's the first one who broke down the components of face to face conversation. He found that communication is 55% nonverbal, 38% vocal, 7% words only.
It's
And if you
crazy.
notice, sometimes we're practicing, we're thinking about the words, right? But there's so much more to it. There's a facial expression, So if I'm bright and my eyes are popped open, I'm not going to look like I'm sleepy. I'm giving into it. I'm giving my energy to what I'm doing, and that helps me to give more umph into what I'm doing. Believe it or not, this also breaks your imposter syndrome because you're taking action, you're moving, you're physically moving as well. And as you
Wow.
go, you grow, so that's important as well. So I think I meant to mention like three or four things. I think I said like five things right there. But those
No,
are
it's
some,
painted the picture. It's
yeah,
important to
it's
know that.
important.
Yeah.
And as you're doing it, again, it's the hard part of it is you have to take the action. If you don't take the action, it's only theory. But when you take the action, you're able to apply the principles, and you're also able to get your own data based off of you. And so for what we do as coaches, it's funny. I was speaking to one of my coaches today, Dr. Paul. We had him on our podcast,
And
but we have to be able to be ones who take action. We can't, if it's just theory, it's not going to happen. But if we take action, it's going to happen. We're in our conversation, we were talking about stuff like that as well. And for me, I can never take that for granted. I have to take, I have to, I want to, I'm passionate about taking action because I know I'm going to grow, and I'm going to get those little nuances that I could take along with me to carry on as my experiences. And in turn, I can teach that. I can teach that to our clients, our students,
right. Love it.
Yeah, yes, it's super, super important, So take those tips, y'all. Apply them,
Rewind it
try
too.
them, rewind it. Yes. Here's another question. How can someone build their confidence and trust in their own speaking abilities? That's an interesting question. How
Um,
can
mhm. uh, I'd say it might sound corny, but really like doing like just hit record. Like I know how it sounds simple. It's simple, but it's not easy. That's the thing. I've heard that before too. Things can be very simple, but not easy. Like taking action is really like even like when you're trying to learn like how to play basketball, you can't just watch a video and like, be LeBron James. You know what I mean? Like you kind of gotta practice dribbling the basketball, shooting it, learning how it works for you, your hand. I don't know. You know what I mean? But
right?
I couldn't tell you the most, but that's really the simple part, but it's about execution, and that's the harder part. Um,
Right.
and I think when it comes to filming, when it comes to being on camera, being on stage, being on uh like a presentation at school, for instance, you don't you notice how much practice people do before like a dance at school, like a school dance, like that takes like they do like 2 months of like rehearsal and practice. Like that's what the practice they put in. You notice how the school presentation, you could tell when someone did it last minute and they're like, yo, bro, we gotta really do this now. Like, you know what I mean? So I say it's really important to make sure you get your practice in. Because I'm not gonna lie, rust happens. Like sometimes you might not do it for a while and like you're rusty. Like me, I if I don't do it often, I'll like go ahead and like stutter. I mean, stutter happens normally, but I'll be like stuttering, like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? And that's the self-talk. So to build your confidence, and not talk bad about yourself, the self-talk, I'd say do it as much as you can, try to learn from it and try to uh fix it, like find your tune, like try to find your sound and like you know what I mean? Like how you talk. Like I feel like you build your voice more when you're just natural, but you're doing it so much that you figure it out quicker and
Mm.
chip at it quicker than other people could.
And I love what you said right there. It's it's really good what you said. Um, and when it comes to finding your voice, finding your thing, finding your vibe, whatever you want to call it, it's process. And
Absolutely.
in life, we don't always like the process. But I
Yeah.
found, and I try to do that with our coaching too. Like, hey, let's make the process fun. Let's make it exciting. Let's create the environment of a great process. Because if you can get a great process going, that's it's so motivating, and there's so much value that comes out of that because you're experimenting. You're like a mad scientist in a science room or a lab, and you're trying this or that and different chemicals and different different formulas, right? And you're passionately doing it. And again, like I mentioned before, the more you put into it, the better it's going to come out, the better the outcome. You know.
Right.
So yeah, it's not corny at all. It's like you're right. Basketball is a great analogy, because and then hey, let's take it to another level. The rest in peace Kobe,
Mhm. Oh
LeBron
man.
James.
Yeah.
Now let's take it. If you want to go, let's go higher level. Let's go high level. The steps that they take to be great. It's not average. It's not your average
Yeah.
player. It's
Right.
it's a whole other level. We're talking about greatness. So leveling up with our process and putting that much more passion into it, and then asking ourselves the question, how can I do it better? How can I do it differently? You know,
Mhm.
because sometimes we look at things in life, it's like we think, hey, this is the only way to do it. We're not saying that, but
Wow.
subconsciously we're thinking that
Yeah.
because we're not
That's
putting in the
crazy.
work to say what other ways can we do it? What are 5 other ways? What are 10 other ways we can do it? We do that? What? Watch
It's
out.
crazy.
Watch out. And so we talk about being, we're talking about speaking on camera and and overcoming the imposter syndrome, right? If you do that alone, you're gonna be you have to be a great speaker. You have to be because you're trying every avenue. You're doing whatever it takes as opposed to just doing the bare minimum, you know?
Right. That's
I
deep. Like
love
I
that.
think curiosity is so important. Because yeah, like Kobe preached about that a lot too. Um,
Mm,
just like staying curious and like always and being curious is being honest too. Like I
right.
think that it's like a mixture of both because when you're asking questions, how can I do better, rather than why isn't this working? That's the same question in a way, but flipped so that it's in your on your court in a way. Like it's the ball's on your court. It's like how can I do better rather than oh this isn't working. It's a self talk. Um,
Mm,
when you flip it like that and you say like how can I get better, it's gonna pump you to want to take the next level. Maybe you can almost see it like from a viewer's perspective rather than you're on top and you're looking down like oh my gosh like what's going on. You can kind of see like you kind of scrape at it and figure out what you could do better.
that's deep. When I think about when you said that, like how can I do it better? But also people like Brian Tracy, you know, he's an amazing author, uh, amazing with time management. Oh my gosh. You know, but asking the questions, how can I do it better? And then what else? And then what else? And then what else? A lot of times when we're practicing or doing something or getting ready for something, like speaking on camera or any of the other things we talked about, sometimes we're so used to doing it one way, and then we get
Hmm.
stuck in a rut. And then when we get stuck in a rut, guess what that's going to promote? The imposter
Hmm.
syndrome.
Right.
Because you feel like, hey, I don't have any other resources. I don't have anything else. And then you get into that fixed mindset. I can't, as opposed to what else can I do? How else can I make it better? And you can write it down and make those things goals. What you write down, make what you write down goals. That puts you on a new path automatically
Right.
because you have new goals. It might be the same thing, but it's different variations. And that's the beauty. That's the creativity. That's the creative side of our minds right there. You know? I
Right.
love that.
This is deep. Wow,
Right?
this is deeper than this emotion. What's it called? Just imposter system. Like it's it's so much that goes into it that we can almost control in a way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's easy to forget. It's so easy to forget when you're trying to figure out this stuff. I love
Right.
it.
Right. And by the way, CJ, just to let you all know, we're in the process right now of creating our program, Confident Video Star Accelerator.
Yes, sir.
We gotta put some of this in there as well because a lot of our people they do struggle with that, you know. And so given you just inspired me to kind of give them something, give them some principles that they can walk away with and they can apply at any point and they can always come back to it and reapply if they find themselves getting back into the imposter syndrome. So we gotta this needs to be one of the modules for sure.
Yes, sir. Let's do that. I love it. You guys make
Let's
sure
do
you
it
guys check out the program. We're launching it real soon. Real soon.
real soon. Yes. Yes. So make sure that you are connected with us. Make if you're watching via YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and share. If you're listening to it via any of the podcast platforms, you know, tune in, stay tuned. And we have a
Right.
lot of amazing valued goodies. Okay, so stay tuned.
It's a
Here's another
fact.
question, CJ. Do you have any tips for someone who's struggling with fear of being judged by
Oh,
others when speaking on camera? That's a big deal right there,
right. Man, it's so let me tell you, that's probably one of the hardest things to overcome. And
right?
there's no sugarcoating it. Like honestly, people say just easier, like people will make it sound easy, like, oh, why would you care about somebody? But that's one of the hardest things, especially when you're insecure. Uh, we all have our insecurities, right? Especially when you're insecure, it's so hard to not feel like you're being judged. Like sometimes I used to like the little things that like people would make fun of me would actually get to me because they made it so big of a deal. Like, you know what I mean? And those things on camera kind of bothered me. I was like, for instance, like, it used to be my nose. Like I used to not be a fan like my nose, because people would say it, but I say, like you can't change that. Like yes, that's just a part of you. It's part of what you have, and like I don't know. Like you should be proud. You shouldn't be ashamed of having like whatever you're insecure about. Like that should be you should like God made you exactly who you're supposed to be. And
Amen.
sometimes we can sometimes we can just question God. Like, why do I have this? Like, why do I have that? Uh, but I think if we can kind of shift our minds just to, accept that God made us exactly and perfectly, the creator of the universe created me exactly how I was supposed to be. It's like, who could tell me nothing? You know what I mean? That's like an affirmation I could have. So uh I think that's important. I think it's hard to, overcome the fear of being judged, but I'd say like people are gonna judge you no matter what you do. Like people are gonna judge if you cross the street to catch the bus. Like people gonna try to flame you, roast you for whatever you try to do, right? So I think just having just a confidence to be like, well, they're gonna judge me anyway, so why not do this? And Jesus got judged. Like it's crazy how like the greatest man ever, he's perfect, the most perfect man ever got judged. So like no matter what you do, just have confidence with it. If you're proud of it, be proud and keep doing it because even the greatest man ever to do it got judged.
Wow. Deep. That's some value right there. That's some value bombs right there, man. It's true, but it's interesting how it's such a struggle,
Yeah, I know.
that fear of being judged, and it's interesting because it's one thing to be judged by people, but everyone's different. Some people are judged more by themselves.
Mm,
Some of us, we judge ourselves more, and it's super a lot. It's such a heavy load. You know what I mean? And
right.
it's so important. But the good thing is to pay attention to that, because that's that self talk right there. Whether we're afraid of someone else judging us, or we're judging ourselves so much and so heavy on ourselves, or we sabotage ourselves, right?
Hmm.
It's important to pay attention to it, acknowledge it, and say, you know what? No, I'm going to go the other route. You know, and so I know what some people do too is, and then I've done this as well, is the mindset part of it. That's a big deal. If you're interested too, you go back to the episode with Dr. Paul, and what he talks about with the mind. That was powerful.
I need to
Um,
rewatch that.
yeah, it's
Watch it
really good.
again.
So it's important to pay attention and acknowledge, but also finding ways to be able to navigate through that, because it's not everyone's different, and there's a lot of layers involved with that for a lot of us. So take a
Right.
trip with that. Take a journey of discovering and studying out our mindset. That's important as well. You know.
Right.
So hey CJ, I think that
Um,
about wraps it up. So you got any more questions?
I got one more. I got one more question. To keep
Let's
this
go.
conversation going. It's a great
I love it.
conversation.
I dig it. I dig it.
Anybody that's let me know if you guys are still watching this podcast right now. If you're on YouTube or wherever you're at, comment down below. Still here. Comment down below, still here that you're still watching.
Hey,
So we always appreciate that for you giving us our time. Uh, I'll ask one more question. What strategies can someone use to kind of build their self-esteem and confidence when they're like speaking on camera? Like it's so easy to uh like we this is a lot. This is rich. This was rich, like we said. But what are some tips? Like what are some, active steps that we could take to actually scale this big mountain of imposter syndrome?
I love that. Scale this big mountain. That's a pretty cool theme, by the way. I like that. Um, I love what you said earlier about practicing in front of the mirror. I'm a fan of doing things physically. Like if I'm sitting down listening to a speech or what have you, sometimes I'll be in the back standing up. I just like to think on my feet. But I do realize too, with the background as a choreographer, physically getting myself into it, even when I'm exhausted, it gets me moving.
Mm,
So I take that principle, get in front of the mirror, give yourself some affirmations. If you're a spiritual person, do some prayer. You know, Interesting thing with prayer is you also gotta take action. It's not gonna
yeah.
come levitate on you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You gotta take action and get a routine for yourself. So if you get in front of the mirror, you give yourself affirmations, 5 to 10 affirmations, in the present, speaking in the present. People have different perspectives on affirmations. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
But that's important before you get started, and then get going. Get going. Use a tool like the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro technique is where you set they sometimes people like to use a Pomodoro timer. I just use a stopwatch. Time yourself for 25 minutes, then time yourself for 15 minutes, and then time yourself for 10 minutes. You can take small breaks of 3 minutes in between. That's an example. If you don't have that time, do a short amount of time, but take time and time yourself to start practicing and put throw yourself into it. Now I hate to use the word throw, but that in some ways sometimes we got to be passionate like that. Like don't literally throw yourself, right?
Yeah,
For
yeah.
those folks who might be
Please
literal,
don't.
please don't throw yourself and stop blaming us. Hey man, so I didn't throw myself. No. But put yourself into it and take action, because the faster you can get on that path of passionately practicing, the further along you're gonna get.
Right.
The further along you get. So those are three examples right there. Those are three tips right there that I'd say. But it goes a long way. And then after that, take notes. How did it go?
Mm,
If you need to, I'll put another one in there. Get someone to help you. Get a friend or a family member, someone who you got to be careful with that too, because if you get someone to help you, make sure they're on the same make sure their goal is the same as yours, because sometimes when people help us out, they want to help us, they care so much, they're putting all these extra things in there. No, simply
Yeah.
give the data. All you need is the data. You don't need the extra this or that. Get the data, get
Right.
the information, take notes, repeat. Number six, repeat. Do it again. And therefore, all of a sudden, you got a new routine, a 10-minute routine, or hour long routine, or 30-minute routine. But practice, get yourself in the habit of doing it. The faster you do it, the better you're going to get quicker.
Right. Um, I say another thing too to add to that. That was great. I appreciate that. Is patience. Like sometimes, I feel like we get impatient with today's day and age, especially with social media.
Right.
Um, like I know for me, I want to be like a YouTuber. When I see like my neighbors around me, you'll get peers along the way too. When I see my neighbors around me doing their thing, it's just like, dang, like, wow, how am I? Like, I want to get there too, but it can like jealousy can really creep in, and like that's crazy because like, no matter what you do, like I think about like even like dance, like you can like dance in the mirror, you be thinking you're doing so good, and someone's killing it next to you, like on the other in the mirror, you know what I mean? And it's just like, oh shoot, like I'm not doing good. Um, but really just have patience with yourself and really just like like only like compete with like yourself. Like if you compete with
Mm,
yourself, you'll kind of see um more progress. You'll see the mountain. Like I seen Kobe say this, you'll see the mountain that you scale, like how far you really came. Like if I went to like my first YouTube video and I sound way there. I'm like, whoa, like this guy, that's me. You know what I mean? It's kind of shocking, but
mm,
you won't realize if you're checking every single day. You won't realize it as much after 6 months. Give yourself 6 months, right? Try something for 6 months, and for instance, and try to see where you started and where you are now. And it's going to be like, wow, like if you're actually uh taking steps actively and trying your best, just like doing your best with what you know, you'll realize like how far you really came, and that's another like affirmation to help you keep going, you know.
mm. Love it. All good, man. Patience. Remind me of patience, but it also reminds me of grace too.
Oh
Having
yeah,
grace
true.
with yourself, being
Yeah,
gracious with yourself, not comparing yourself to other people, and
so easy too.
oh yeah, totally. Being in the speaking world, but also being in the entertainment world, it's we're creatures of nature. We
Yeah,
naturally we compare ourselves all the time,
right.
and if sometimes other people compared us. Even as kids, sometimes some of us had parents who compared us, you know,
And
and
sometimes it can be planted into you, you know.
it's just ingrained in us, and it's something
Yeah,
that we have to be careful to make sure that we're purging out of ourselves. And then also, if people aren't comparing us, we're comparing ourselves. Even bigger than
it's
that, we're
it's mainly us.
it's mainly us, because even
Yeah,
our self talk, sometimes we can be like, well, I'm not this or that, but I can't. That's a tough act to follow. Or
right.
no, no, no. Don't use those words. Instead, use different words like, how can I make this the best? How can I how can I say it this way? How can I change my tone this time? How can I make it different next time? That's going to make you better. And in turn, that's going to make greater impact, because people are watching you, and people will be inspired by you, and you're giving them permission to be their best as well.
Right.
Mm,
Rich talk, man. This is
rich talk. I like that. I like that. This is rich talk, man. Rich talk. Rich talk.
just came with that on the fly, but I like you're off
I
with it.
love it. I love it. So I think that just about wraps it up, CJ.
There you have it.
There you have it. And also, by the way, we want to let you guys know to check out our Facebook group, the Confident Video Star Nation. Confident Video Star Nation. Check out our Facebook group. It's an amazing Facebook group. Hold on one second, CJ.
Yeah.
1 second, guys. We're live, okay? Try not to yell, please. Thank you. Hello. Oh, yeah, guys. One more thing. One more thing. We want to give you a special invitation to our Facebook group, Confident Video Star Nation. Go to Facebook right now, type in Confident Video Star Nation, and follow our group. Join our group. It's an amazing group that has incredible tools, incredible value. We're going to have incredible training as well. And we're going to be training
Yes,
in there
sir.
every week. And it's a free group. So check it out, Confident Video Star Nation.
Yes, sir. I love it. We'll also provide it. Bobby, if you guys on YouTube, you guys can check the description or comment section. If we don't get to it, give it some time. But check out those two tools. I feel like it'll be easier for just to click the link. If you have Facebook, it just direct you straight to it, and you can just join. And ask for like a little survey, just on why you want to be a part of our nation. So make sure you guys check it out. We're gonna be killing it, having fun. And building a bond in there, man. It's gonna be really enjoyable. I think it just helps you take that next leap that you're looking for. Maybe you guys are looking for a leap to take in your video confidence, and we're gonna all do it together and be on the same journey.
Right on, right on. And who is it for? Who is it for? It's for authors. If you might be an author who's like, look, I want to get my book out there, but I just don't know how to get a presence. And I know that video marketing is popular now. I just don't know how to get out there. This group is for you. You might be a coach who's like, look, I need to take it to the next level as a coach. I just don't know how to. I don't feel like I have anything good in me. Your imposter syndrome could be kicking in and say, I don't have anything good in me to give to the world or this online space. Yes, you do. This group is for you. All right. You might be a service provider. Same thing. Check it on out. Join the nation. There you have it.
You have it. There you go.
We hope you enjoyed our podcast. If you would be so kind, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and or if you're listening to any of our platforms, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whichever one, please be so kind to give us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed the podcast. And we'll talk to you soon.